Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Cloud Native Coffee Hour. I am your host, Dan Makita, with my co-host, Dan McCracken.
Hello.
I have a new setup here, so my mic wasn't close enough. All right. So today is our first stream in 2022. That's very, very exciting. We took a break over the holidays. Did you have a good holiday, Dan?
It was fantastic. It was very nice. My kids are finally the age that the gifts that I buy them, I want. So we got that Saturn V Lego. I'm planning on putting it right here when he's done with it, if he doesn't destroy it. Right here. That'd be cool. I mean, for the
That'd
people,
look awesome.
For science, we need it here. And I got that PS5 for the kids. For the kids, Makita. I'm pro gamer.
Oh, gamer. Cool. Yeah, no, I had a good holiday too.
Yeah.
Actually, just with the state of the world right now, we actually just chilled at home. We visited my parents for just a few hours on the day after Christmas, but other than that, both Christmas and New Year's at home watching Netflix. It was great.
You got a cozy little spot there.
I like it, except sometimes it's hard to tell what the weather is, so it's just like it's the same time of day all day, every day.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna ask, like, is it snowing in the terrarium there, or what?
It is. It's beautiful, actually, because I got the pine trees and everything. It looks like a little winter wonderland.
Well, if that's a winter wonderland, it is the seventh circle of hell snow outside my window.
Well, that's because you have a giant flat tundra, so I'm sure it just looks like desolation.
It's nuclear winter.
That's funny. Okay, so today's topic. I'm just getting lit up all of a sudden. We go live, and my work computer's lighting up, my phone's lighting up. It's just what happens.
It's a business.
Okay, so it's a business. So today, we are going to talk, we're just going to ease into the year, right? We have some good content planned. It's coming up, but today, we're going to go over the patch notes for Kubernetes 1.23. Came out earlier in December, but we already had content planned for those streams, so we didn't get a chance to cover it. So today, we just thought we'd have some tea. I have tea.
Coffee. Nespresso.
You have coffee for once at the coffee hour.
I always have coffee. It's the coffee hour. Makita, always have coffee, bro.
Yeah, so we're gonna cover that. It's gonna be chill. And yeah, we'll see where that leads us in conversation.
Yeah, we were doing a lot of CKS stuff December when all this was rolling out. And I know spoiler alert, there's a bunch of security changes in here. And so that actually means something different. I've got a new perspective on a lot of that. So yeah, I'm excited to take a peek. I haven't looked at it in any depth. So
perfect. Okay, let's go over to that then real quick. Okay, so the Kubernetes blog. Kubernetes 1.23, the next frontier. Let's see what they say about that. That's a very, I wonder what they mean by that, the next frontier. I wonder if this change has something crazy in it.
Well, and the thing that, because you remember at KubeCon where Microsoft guy was talking about how they're implementing IPv6, and that was like massively disruptive. I feel like that was 1.25 that they were talking about. Like it was really going to get its guts ripped out and put back. So yeah, next frontier. We shall see, shall we? Shan't we?
All right, well, we are pleased to announce the last release of 2021 consists of 41 enhancements, 11 enhancements have graduated to stable, 17 are moving to beta, and 19 are entering alpha. Don't you wish every company had their release management together like this? This is so big brain. Like I marvel at how good their management of features is.
And I mean, I believe they have a core staff that here's my understanding, because they kind of went over this at KubeCon too. They have a core staff that does most of the work, the standard work, as our good buddies would probably put it. There's a bunch of standard work, and they make sure that the system keeps moving. But then every release, there's like volunteers. Volunteers are people chomping at the bit to be a part of it, but they're volunteers from the open source community and whatever. And they come in and then they roll the train. They just kind of do the release train and run all the meetings, and that must be how I think they do that, so that you don't get people burn out, because there's so much that goes into that stuff. But they have enough of the continuity with the people running the show. Oh yes, that's so much better. That it just keeps moving. So okay.
Yeah, had to make it bigger. Okay.
It's perfect.
One feature's been deprecated. Also on this whole what pieces are graduated, which ones aren't. They even have their oh man, it's been so long since I did this. The where they have like the package. They have different packages for where all this code lives, and you reference the resource types by the package, right? And so like when it graduates, it actually like moves out of like the beta packaging and goes to like the main line. It's like all the way down to the code. Like ingress.
What packaging are you talking about?
When you declare an ingress object, you say ingress v1 beta 1.
Yeah.
Well, it's no longer that. It's
right.
It's just ingress v1 or whatever.
Right.
So like
I thought that was just object versioning.
I believe it when they graduate features like ingress, it actually moves out of a beta signification or whatever.
Okay.
I think that's at least how I understood it.
Yeah. That's how that's basically what I get too. But when I guess you threw me off by package, I was wondering if I was missing something.
Just like with Java objects, when you build your Java application,
packaging.
Yes.
I'm with you. I'm back with you.
The Go packaging, basically.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Anyways, sorry. That was probably way too off the thing. Okay, major themes. Let's talk about this. Deprecation of flex volume. Okay, this is the thing that deprecated. So flex volume is deprecated. The out-of-tree CSI driver is the recommended way to write volume drivers in Kubernetes.
Yeah.
Maintainers of flex volume should implement a CSI driver and move users of flex volume to CSI.
Yeah,
this actually makes sense to me.
I used to see a lot of this in the Rook docs. The Rook people have been talking about it a lot. They've been pushing people out of flex volume. I don't know what flex volume is, but it sounds like it's the legacy way to do it. And it's done now. The Valero people talk about it too, or the docs.
We talked about this a lot when we were implementing Rook. Yeah. Because they had like two different ways to do it. They said CSI or flex volume, but all of their docs pushed us towards CSI, and so we did that, and now I'm glad we did.
It was the only way that we could get to work.
Cool. Okay. Moving on. Deprecation of Klog. Klog specific flags.
I believe it's pronounced clog, just for the record.
Clog. Okay.
It's not. If people are in the chat, you could correct me. I think they should call it clog.
The code which implements them will be removed in a future release. So the flags were just marked as deprecated, but the code and functionality still exists. I don't know what clogs are. I don't know if I care enough to look it up either.
Kubernetes logging. Logging flags were marked as deprecated. Next.
Okay. All right, let's see. Software supply chain SLSA level 1 compliance in the Kubernetes release process. All right. Kubernetes releases now generate provenance attestation files describing the staging and release phases of the release process. Artifacts are now verified as they are handed over from one phase to the next. The final piece completes the work needed to comply with Level 1 of the SLSA security framework.
Yeah, I mean, this is all in line with what they've been talking about. I mean, this is practicing what they preach, providing a good example. This is all the bill of materials kind of thing, software supply chain, the library supply chain, and all the
It's
all the
absolutely
things.
amazing to me. It's just I've worked at so many companies, and releases are always almost like an afterthought. In a lot of ways, it's just like, okay, we finally got it tested, we got it done. Okay, let's build it and go,
Oh yeah,
right? And it's just never like, like the amount of care and attention that's provided these releases. Oh my god, it just, I want to cry.
Sam's reminding us it's salsa. So, and that's good. That's gonna stick. That's a good sticky word to have on that. SLSA. Salsa.
That's so cool. Okay, IPv4, IPv6, dual stack networking graduates to general availability. Look at that. This is what you were talking about.
I have a huge brain. I paid attention.
Since 1.21, Kubernetes clusters have been able to support dual stack networking by default. In 1.23, the IPv6 dual stack feature gate is removed. The use of dual stack networking is not mandatory. Although clusters are enabled to support dual stack networking, pods and services continue to default to single stack. To use dual stack networking, Kubernetes nodes must have routable IPv4, IPv6 network interfaces. A dual stack capable CNI network plugin must be used. Pods must be configured to be dual stack, and services must have their IPv family policy field set to either preferred dual stack or required dual stack. Whew.
Yeah, I can't speak to the benefits of V6. I stand on the shoulders of the internet people to get me to care about that. I do care about it because the right internet people I trust are talking about it. And if Kubernetes needs to do it, we need to do it. So I'm keeping my eyeball on this. Keeping my eyeball on it. Long story short, I have a blind spot here.
I feel similarly about it, and I think I think it comes down to the way I've gotten into Kubernetes and gotten to where I am is use cases. All of the clients that I've worked with have various use cases, and this one, it just has never come up yet. And so I guess I just really haven't gotten the opportunity or the demand to really dig into it and understand when and why.
Yeah. It's like, with the Pi cluster, can we just set up the Pi cluster to use V6 and like do the Pis just have V6 enabled on their network card? Like, is that, or do you need to do special adapters or something? What?
No, I think what you just said, the last part there is, I don't know. And if Raspberry Pis support IPv6, I would actually be surprised, I guess. Because I think it comes down to almost like you said, the network chip on the Pi probably has to support it, right?
Might be the NIC on the, yeah, possibly. But yeah, Sam in the chat, more IPs available on big mega clusters. I doubt that the Kubernetes clusters are running out of IPs, but I know that from the internet perspective, we need more bits. We need more IPs, especially Internet of Things. And IPv6 gives us what we need. I do have that level of understanding.
I do like
maybe that's all I
this
need.
Paragraph though.
Yeah, it's good.
From a humor perspective, this paragraph's like, hey guys, this is now turned on by default. It's all super easy. Just don't forget you have to do You know, your network has to
Everything.
support it. Your pods and services has to support it. Your
Yeah.
your CNI, the pods, the service. Like it's just like, okay, well, yep. Still not just like here you go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was funny. Ooh, horizontal pod autoscaler V2 graduates to GA. Awesome.
I would like to do horizontal pod autoscaling V1, but now I'm a fan
Ha!
to do V2.
Ha! Look at this. It graduated from V2 Beta 2 to just V2.
You like to see it.
Come on. Give me kudos. I was right.
You were right. About yes, sure. Is that the package that you're talking about?
Yes, that's the package.
That's just so smart.
Anyways, okay. Generic ephemeral volume feature graduates to GA.
Huh.
Okay. The generic ephemeral volume feature moved to GA. The feature allows any existing storage driver that supports dynamic provisioning to be used as an ephemeral volume with the volume's lifecycle bound to the pod. All storage class parameters for volume provisioning and all features supported with persistent volume claims are supported.
Huh.
I don't feel like we have taken advantage of the generic ephemeral volume feature.
Well, I mean, it's just now in GA. But are you talking about just volumes, local volumes in general?
No, we've taken advantage of local volumes, but this one seems like it's a special.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, I'm curious about this one.
Volumes. Types of ephemeral volumes. Empty dir. I think we've taken advantage. Config map. Downward API. Never heard of that. Secret. And then there are CSI ephemeral volumes, which you need CSI drivers for. And then generic ephemeral volumes, which can be provided by all storage drivers that also support persistent volumes. It's really interesting. Empty dir and stuff, etc., are provided as local ephemeral storage. They're managed by the kubelet on each node. Generic ephemeral volumes. That's really interesting. Storage can be... Generic ephemeral volumes are similar to empty dir as a... Okay. I could... Let me send this to you. It's kind of interesting. See if you can grab that. Feature state. Kubernetes 1.23 is stable. Generic ephemeral volumes are similar to empty dir volumes in the sense that they provide per pod directory for scratch data. That's usually empty after provisioning. Okay, good with that. But they may also have additional features. Can be local or network attached. If it's scratch data, why do you care? Or what's the... Does that mean it like saves on memory? So instead of having it in memory, you're actually just using disk. That's kind of, I guess that makes sense to me, I guess. Right? You're going to save something there. Volumes can have a fixed size that pods are not able to exceed. Oh. You can just blow that thing up in its current state, but generic ephemeral volumes, you can actually put a cap on it. That's interesting. I always kind of thought there might be. Actually, I never thought about it. Volumes may have some initial data depending on the driver and parameters. So you can kind of seed it. Typical operations on volumes are supported, assuming that the driver supports them, including snapshotting, cloning, resizing. Well, that's kind of interesting, I guess, because that's so the snapshotting and things like that, the CSI stuff, that's very Valero focused. So it's like, if you just had a generic ephemeral volume and took backups of it, I guess that's pretty cool. I never thought
Yeah,
about that.
very interesting. I would love to compare the docs between these Kubernetes docs and Rook's docs and Valero's docs and kind of see how it all fits together. Because I'm sure you can take advantage of these.
Yeah,
Probably.
we'll have to keep an eye on that. Because yeah, if you can just have volumes, generic ephemeral volumes, and then kind of quasi use them as persistent volumes when you want to by taking backups. I mean, that's pretty good. Because you're doing all that from a Kubernetes platform level and not like the application. It's not like you're taking your database, a Postgres backup. You're just snapshotting the generic ephemeral volume that Postgres might be storing its database on. Huh, I don't know.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Skip volume ownership change graduates to GA. The feature to configure volume permission and ownership change policies for pods moved to GA. This allows users to skip recursive permission changes on mount and speeds up the pod startup time. Skip recursive permission changes. Okay. I mean, that makes sense. Any type of recursive validation that's happening can take a lot of time. I know the Nginx controller basically has to iterate through all ingresses in your cluster. So the more ingresses you have, the longer it takes for it to start up and to issue changes. Because anytime you issue an ingress change, it has to go through again. So that's cool.
We'll take it.
Okay. Allow CSI drivers. A lot of volume related things.
Storagey things.
Allow CSI drivers to opt in to volume ownership and permission change. Graduates to GA. This feature, the feature to allow CSI drivers to declare support for FS group based permissions, graduates. FS group stuff. I don't know a lot about it. I can't really speak to it.
Security bits. I think it's the file system group. So like, it's security stuff. When you want to lock stuff down.
Look at the next one. Pod security moves to beta. Pod security replaces the deprecated pod security policy.
Yep.
Admission controller. So pod security is an admission controller that enforces pod security standards on pods in a namespace based on specific namespace labels that set the enforcement level.
Yep.
And it's enabled by default now.
Yep.
Quick. Got to change the CKS questioning.
Well, so my addition to this is during the CKS training, it was the training that I went through, the courses and stuff, talked about this a lot. And I think the test that Sam and I both took, that we took, was on the old one.
The test.
I know, you took the test. It was on 1.22, right?
Right.
So yeah, we had to learn the old way, or we were tested on the old way. And now it's actually, I feel like I looked at this and it was a little cleaner. I think that's what they're trying to do, at least. Trying to clean this up, make it a first-class citizen, make it low friction to just do the right thing out of the box. And having it enabled out of the box is great. Because without locking down your Kubernetes cluster, you can get a lot of stuff. you can expose a lot of stuff without knowing, and you hate to see that.
The container runtime interface, the CRI v1, is now default. Wow. That blows me away.
That was always
Not the fact that it's default now, the fact that it just now is becoming default. So that means that anytime we were installing Kubernetes up until this version, it was still utilizing the Docker specific or the containerd specific API calls.
Well, that, or is it just it was using the V1 Alpha 2 spec before, and now it's using V1? Just another thing that graduates. Or maybe it was always, maybe, yeah, I don't know. This is kind of confusing.
There is no intermediate action required by end users because V1 and V Alpha 2 do not differ. Oh, okay, then never mind. Okay, so my shock is gone. I was like, how is this just now becoming a thing? Okay.
I think
Ignore
okay.
me. That's why I was shocked. Okay. So they are just cleaning up the naming, it sounds like.
I think so. But you might be, I still don't know. I mean, there's, everything is versioned all over the place, so I never know which one is, which ones to care about. It's like, yes, we implement, you have to have a container runtime. The CRI is what talks, it uses CRI to talk to the container runtime, like containerd or whatever you have running. Whether it's the V1 Alpha 2, which sounds like that's been the spec. And yes, it's now just kind of like trimmed off and graduated, or good. Let's get out of these alpha and beta, blah, blah, blah. Get on with it.
All right. Structured logging graduates to beta. Structured logging reached its beta milestone. Most log messages from Kubelet and Kubescheduler have been converted. Users are encouraged to try out JSON output or parsing of the structured text format and provide feedback on possible solutions for. Cool. That's awesome. Especially if you want to like intake those logs into, like Elk or Splunk or whatever have you, Loki.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be able to parse it now.
I thought they always were. Maybe not. I guess maybe not. These are all JSON now, but they were just normal log. They're not log4j, but like some log4j normal looking pattern before, aren't they?
Maybe. Or, I mean, at the same time, it says it's reached its beta milestone, which means it's been available in alpha. So maybe, we've been using that. I don't know. I love when we read these super specific release notes and it makes me feel like I know nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, that's why we're reading it. It's like, well, I have my workflows. I know what my clusters are doing. What are the clusters I'm going to be using in a year going to be doing? I guess they'll have this stuff. I'll have to, and then I'll be like, we did a stream on that one time.
Okay. Simplified multi-point plugin configuration for scheduler. Here's another good example. Okay, so the Kubescheduler is adding a new simplified config field for plugins to allow multiple extension points to be enabled in one spot. The new multi-point plugin field is intended to simplify most scheduler setups for administrators. Plugins that are enabled via multi-point will automatically be registered for each individual extension point that they implement. For example, a plugin that implements score and filter extensions can be simultaneously enabled for both. This means entire plugins can be enabled and disabled without having to manually edit individual extension point settings. I have never used this. I'm wondering if this is something that people that act on the events of the scheduler do. We haven't really written our own operators or anything like that. So I don't know. I can't really speak to this. It's kind of sounds good.
Well, is it that, or is it like you're literally writing plugins for the scheduler, like for these control plane components?
I think that we're saying the same thing. I guess I just assumed that that you'd write those plugins using operators, but maybe it's different.
I don't know.
I don't know. Write it down for a future stream. We'll research Cube
Yeah.
Scheduler plugins and write one.
Yeah, we'll get back to you on that. Need a use case. I'm not, it's not like the scheduler works okay for what we do. Don't need to modify it yet. I haven't had a big brain idea yet. Okay, what is this?
Csi Migration Updates. Csi migration enables the replacement of existing in-tree storage plugins, such as the Google Cloud Engine PD. I don't know what the PD stands for. Persistent something database. I don't know.
Device, maybe?
Or
Yeah.
or AWS EBS with a corresponding CSI driver. If CSI migration is working properly, Kubernetes end users shouldn't notice a difference. After migration, Kubernetes users may continue to rely on all the functionality of in-tree storage. Okay. Expression language validation for CRD is alpha.
Expression language validation. Common expression language, CEL. Common resources we validated by validation rules using CEL. This feels familiar, but I have not used this either. Are you opening that up? Oh boy.
Yeah.
You know what's good? It takes you to the GitHub.
It implements common semantics for expression evaluation, enabling different applications to more easily interoperate. Damn. I have nothing to say on this.
Yeah, go back to the validation for CRD.
Right. So I guess what I'm thinking it is it's some kind of way to lint or validate that your custom resource definition is
what you expect it to be.
Certain standards.
Is what you expect it to be. Yeah. Or exactly. Meet certain standards or isn't something that you don't want it to be.
Like a static analysis tool of some kind.
Yeah. Or like stuff that might expose your cluster, or I don't know. This could have a lot of. I look at everything through the security lens now, whereas I didn't as much before. But yeah, linting and preventing CRDs from doing things you never want them to do, maybe.
Okay, server-side field validation is alpha. If the server-side field validation feature gate is enabled, users will receive warnings from the server when they send Kubernetes objects in the request that contain unknown or duplicate fields. Previously unknown fields and all but the last duplicate fields would be dropped by the server. With the feature gate enabled, we also introduced the field validation query. Wow, this is cool.
Huh.
That's awesome. I want to turn this on now in all our clusters.
Yeah, so what would it... Oh.
Do you know how many times I go in to edit a YAML and I'm like, this is in here twice and it's different. Which one's active?
Oh. Well, that's nice. Field validation query parameter. Users should specify the desired behavior of the server on a per request basis. Huh.
It would also be super helpful for like Nginx when you're, we do a lot of fancy stuff with our ingress objects by using different Nginx like annotations.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times, like those annotations change between versions of the Nginx ingress controller. And so you're looking at all these docs and you're like, I'm trying to get this to route the certain way and blah, blah, blah. And you're just like trying everything, but you don't know if the setting you're using is actually even available. I'm wondering if this would catch that and tell you like, nope, doesn't exist in this version.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it feels like form validation for the Kube API server, right? Like it's going to reply back with a list of your errors or warnings. Like if you do a kubectl apply of some manifest and it got pissed, or now it'll, if you set it to just strict, then it'll just like deny your stuff as opposed to silently doing something in the back end or failing
Yeah,
somewhere else. It feels like it might be kind of pushing those errors more towards the user or the administrator, which is good.
exactly. I love it. Okay, the last one here. OpenAPI v3 is alpha. This
Damn.
is very interesting to me because, I mean, just a few years ago when we were writing web services, we were upgrading to OpenAPI v2. And the fact that there is a v3 now is interesting. If it's implemented, users will be able to request the v3 spec for all Kubernetes types. Cool. I
Seems
don't
good.
know what v3 looks like, but sounds cool.
Yeah, they're actually on version 3.1.0 right now. 3.1.0 was February 15th, 2021. Okay. We got to get Scotty on here. Bet you he knows.
Okay,
Scotty.
let's see. Other updates graduated to stable. Yep, so the IPv6 stuff. Okay, this is all the same stuff.
Yeah.
We already read through most of this. Major changes. Okay, release notes, availability. Ooh.
Oh. See, if you're on the release team, you get to set your flair. Get to set the flavor.
So, ooh. This, I think, is actually worth reading. Okay, so
Okay.
the Next Frontier theme represents the new and graduated enhancements in 1.23. Kubernetes history of Star Trek references and the growth of community members in the release team. Okay. So they chose this Star Trek reference because Kubernetes has a history of Star Trek references. The original code name for Kubernetes within Google is Project 7, a reference to 7 of 9 from Star Trek Voyager. And of course, Borg was the name of the predecessor to Kubernetes. The Next Frontier theme continues the Star Trek references. The Next Frontier is a fusion of two Star Trek titles, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, and Star Trek The Next Generation, The Next Frontier. Oh,
I
look at
like
them.
it.
So clever.
That's big brain. You ever watch Star Trek?
You're going to get... I've seen clips, but no, I've never watched it.
I would like your nerd card back, sir. Just kidding. That's why you're way
I'm of
way
a...
cooler than me.
I'm not cooler than you. All right. With each release team, we grow the community, blah, blah, blah. KubeCon, we were there, was held in October 21, both online and in person. Okay. The Kubernetes Cloud Native Essentials training and CKNA certifications are now generally available for enrollment and scheduling. Okay. New resources are now available from the Inclusive Naming Initiative. KubeCon China's coming up, or past. It happened. Ooh, Valencia, Spain. If only COVID was over, we could
Can I
go.
go to Valencia? I mean, you could try to go. Try to go.
Yeah.
I don't like Spain.
Every time I travel over the last 2 years with COVID, it's just not the same. Not the same. Always having to have your mask on, never knowing what places are going to be open or closed. Well, that's the release notes. I feel smarter and dumber at the same time.
I mean, that feeling is you learning something. Yeah, I, well, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and just give them kudos on naming it. It definitely seems like a lot of things just graduated. Um, they're setting up for the big. They're setting up for more networking and structural changes, like they were talking about. And I guess nothing in this though, and maybe this is just a sign, and I think we got this feeling from KubeCon. It's a sign that, it's nothing in here is like, oh my gosh, I have to use that. These are all like, no, these are just serious use cases for, enterprises adopting this stuff and, cloud cloud storage and cloud persistent storage type things, security type things. These are all really good signs that, it's maturing. It's maturing. I don't see anything super flashy. It's all just like nitty gritty. Got to do this. It's good to have, and you need to have. So
Agreed. Whew.
maybe we can go back. We'll turn the Wayback Machine on and review like when Kubernetes 1.08 came out. We're like, oh my god, you guys! I don't know what any of this is. What the hell's an ingress?
Anything else you want to talk about on our first stream back, the chill stream, the easy stream?
The easy stream that I am exhausted from, quite frankly. No, I think 2022 it's going to be a great year. I think it's going to be another great year of streaming, and I'm excited for some of the other topics we're going to have on here. We focused a lot on the Raspberry Pis last year, scaling out our cluster. Um, I'm excited to learn some new stuff this year. I'm excited because last year I feel like we just kind of we started to get some momentum in really trying some stuff out. So see what we can do to flex this year, and
I think
I'm excited.
my not my goal. I wouldn't call it a goal, but what I've been thinking about and where I would like to grow is cloud specific and distribution specific Kubernetes implementations.
Hmm.
So I feel like we've spent the last 2 years or more um, in just core Kubernetes. The main client that we maintain, 30 plus clusters for is actually open source Kubernetes. We just install the binaries, we set it up, and we manage it vanilla, very vanilla. And I just see, with our personal growth, our company's growth, I'm seeing more and more appetite for the cloud, for
Mhm.
GCE, for AKS, whatever, and a lot of talk about Rancher lately. Rancher seems to be gaining a lot of traction as well. So, we set up our Raspberry Pi cluster with, well, it's on K3S right now. So, but I guess I personally want to learn more about the cloud, different cloud vendors and what makes them different and how to manage those in an effective way.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean K3S. That's when we really got into that. That's when I'd always heard of known of Rancher, but never really dealt with it. And that's a Rancher product. So yeah, and I have Rancher Desktop. Started to poke around with that. With doc, well, spoiler alert. Maybe we'll talk about the Docker deprecation, Docker Desktop issue, licensing issue. Um, yeah, I agree. There's a lot going on with that company in particular, and the cloud vendors. They're good.
Yeah, that's something
They,
I would love to
we
talk
need to
about
get
too.
into.
Is beyond cloud vendors, beyond the big three, right? The big three. Um, Rancher, you can install Rancher on prem as well as all the clouds, and you can have a distributed cluster configuration. I really want to do like a deep dive comparison of like Rancher and OpenShift
Huh.
because they're very similar products, but a lot of companies already have Red Hat contracts,
Mm-hmm.
and Red Hat makes OpenShift, and it would seem like a natural fit to choose that. But I see a lot of people pushing for Rancher, even in Red Hat environments. So I would really like to just kind of do a deep dive comparison of, what are you getting when you go Rancher over OpenShift and vice versa. I would find that very interesting personally.
I had never thought about it that way. I agree. We'll have to dig into that.
I'm exhausted.
Any questions from the chat? We had good chat last time. Or there was some, remember when we had a guy in there and was actually asking a great question? I was like, I felt like I gave career advice to somebody. I was useful. But today, what do we have? We can just pick on these people. Today is just Sam in here. Yeah. Hi, Sam. Hello. Oh, I know who you are. Hello, Capybara 8. Fancy finding you here. Here, have an emoji.
Yay. Well. All right. Let's sign off. Big year. Lots of good content coming up. We're also going to branch out in content too, just as a teaser for everyone. Is we're going to branch out. We're going to start doing a little bit more development focused streams as well. I think we have a stream on eventing coming up soon. So, yeah.
Focus on the use case. You got to focus on the business cases. The stuff isn't that useful if you're not doing anything with it. So let's get into it.
Okay, well, I was your host, Dan Makita.
I still am your host. Yeah.
Dan McCracken, and this was the Cloud Native Coffee Hour. We will see you next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.